Good morning. Today is Wednesday, May 11th, 2022. It's a wonderful day today, and we will quickly begin our day with some information concerning roadside.
In 2 miles, take exit 16AB for US 29 North toward Columbia.
Ladies and gentlemen, I just got back from a roadside service call. It was a few of them, and it went successfully. I did it in I can't exactly remember where it was in Maryland, but I did it in Maryland. Early this morning, I got the call at 4. Well, actually, it came through my app. It was at 4:25. And I did this job through urgently roadside.
In half a mile, take exit 16AB for US 29 North toward Columbia.
But when doing roadside service, depending upon the technician, it comes under towing, changing flat tires,
take exit 16AB, then keep left at the fork to continue on
gas
exit
delivery,
16B.
and jump starts.
Keep left at the fork to continue on exit 16B.
As far as jump
Continue
starts,
on US 29 North for 17 miles.
you could use a jump box, or you can use one of those mechanisms that are real small. It looks like almost like a phone. It's very thick, and it has its own little clamps, negative and positive clamps, and it gives out a lot of power, and it's able to start a vehicle. I was very surprised. A neighbor of mine has it. Yeah. So I said, I need to get one of those. That way I can always be able to do something, even if I don't have my large standard jump box. But yeah, with roadside service, that's what we do. We go out and we assist the customer, and if the customer's car doesn't start, then what we do is we offer our assistance by using our own vehicle or a jump box. Now, using our own vehicle, as far as giving a hot shot from your vehicle, you place the clamps on the battery. And when you place the clamps on the battery, first you want to find the positive pole on the battery. And to find the positive pole in the battery, you look for the red covering or the red label. That's a call coming in. Let me see what this is. It's a lockout. Let's see if I can get this. Leave now. It's offering me $47. Say no thanks. Yeah, so you locate the poles on the battery. You make sure that you put your positive clamp on the positive pole. The way to know that you have the positive pole that you're using, you make sure that the clamp that you're using on the positive pole is red. So you take the clamp that's red and you put it on the positive pole. The indication that you will be given to know that you're putting the red clamp on the positive pole is by looking at the marking on that pole. And if you see a plus sign, or if you will, a lowercase t, but it's a plus sign. The plus sign stands for positive. Just like in addition, when you see the plus sign, okay? For the negative pole, which is the black clamp, first they want to call me. They didn't want to tell me I acted too slow. So once you find the positive pole that's labeled with the plus sign, and you take that red clamp and you put it on there, then you take the negative clamp, which is black, and you put that on the other pole. It's only two poles, not unless you have side poles and top poles. But if you have a top pole and you already put your positive clamp on the correct pole, then all you have to do is put the black clamp on the negative pole. And you know it's the negative pole because it has the minus sign. So you put that black clamp on there. Now, if you have a jump box, that's what you do. And then you turn your jump box on, knowing that you have a fully charged jump box. You know it's going to, for the most part, work. Now, if you don't have a jump box and you're using car to car, hot shot, then once you put the clamps on the battery, and we already went through which pole is positive and which pole is negative, you do the same for the other car. So what I like to do first, I like to put the clamp on the car that needs to be serviced. Once I do that, then all I have to do is then hook up the other battery. Same way, red clamp goes onto the positive pole and the black clamp goes onto the negative pole. Same way you did it with the car that needs service. Once you hook up both cars, your car can already be on or it can be off. It may be good to have it off. That way when you start it up, that's when the power starts to generate from one car to the other. But if you already have it started, then as soon as you put it on there, then the car should already be able to generate the electricity, so the power from the vehicle that's servicing the vehicle that needs to be serviced can get the energy. And that's giving a jump start. or a hot shot. The other thing is changing a flat tire. When changing a flat tire, the first thing you want to have in mind is safety. Very important. Also, with doing your jump start, you want to make sure safety is involved. First and foremost, when doing any roadside job, and I'm going to get back to the flat tire, but when doing any roadside job, make sure you have reflective clothing. Make sure you, at least a vest. So you have your vest, and this is safety. You want to make sure you have gloves. You can have reflective gloves if you like, safety gloves. But nevertheless, you need gloves when you're changing the tire, because changing the tire is a not so clean job. You're going to get some dirt on your hands. So if you wear gloves, then you won't get any dirt on your hands, or you won't get much dirt on your hands, depending upon what kind of gloves you have on. So you have your gloves, you have your reflective clothing. Also, when changing the tire, you want to make sure you have protective glasses or goggles. And the reason why you want to have these goggles is for the simple fact that when you are taking off the lug nuts with your impact wrench, sometimes when you are taking off the lug nuts, particles from the lug nut having the socket on the lug nut and using your impact wrench to take off the lug nut off the tire can throw particles at you. And these are metal particles, and they can cut like knives. It has never happened to me before, and I thank God for it, because I practice safety. I love myself. I love myself. Pat on the back, pat on the front. I love myself. So I have to take care of myself. You have to protect your temple. Everything that's on your body that you came on your birthday, when you came on your birthday, is your temple. But you know, you get rid of the umbilical cord. So safety is important. So now we're all set as far as safety is concerned. Now, what I do, in addition to safety, I make sure I have on my warning lights. These warning lights are somewhat like what a police officer has when he's driving and in pursuit or going to a location where a crime has happened or some type of emergency. His lights or her lights, the lights that a police officer uses or a police officer uses, are red and blue. Mine are amber and white. That's yellow and white. And I use these lights so that the customer can identify me as a roadside service technician. And I also require for the customer or the driver to have on their flashing red lights, or some may call them emergency lights. That way I know who the customer or the driver is that called for the service. So when I'm a mile away from location where I need to render service, that's when I put on my amber lights, my warning lights. And that way the customer can identify me as a service technician. Again, for safety precautions. Once I get to the vehicle, I distance myself. I'll put maybe 50 feet between myself and the vehicle or more, because you never know what you might come up against out here, especially early in the morning, like 2, 3, 4 in the morning.
In 2 miles, use the right 2 lanes to take exit 25 for I-70 East toward Baltimore.
So after I find the customer, or it looks like it's the customer, and I get back of the customer, again, I'm 50 feet or more in back of the customer. The company generates a phone number so that I can call the customer to make sure the customer is still there, and to call the customer to make sure the customer is still in a safe location. So once I'm in back the customer, I give the customer a call. The customer says, yes, this is I. So to make sure that it's the customer, I say, okay, man, I need for you to step out your vehicle. That way I know it is definitely you. And you know, people that don't have a problem with being helped, they will get out of the car. Or sometimes I say, if you will, could you just wave your hand out the window? That way I know it's you. And they'll do that.
In
Sometimes,
half a mile, use the right 2 lanes to take exit 25 for I-70 East toward Baltimore.
Identify the customer, knowing that it is the customer, then you're ready to move on. So once I'm behind the customer, I've identified the customer, and this is for a tire check.
Use the right 2 lanes to take exit 25A.
Once I have done that, then I pull out my cones. I position
Continue
my
on I-70
cones
East for 4 miles.
so that the drivers that are passing me know not to pass me close, and they can see the cones, and that indicates to the drivers that are passing on the highway that there is roadside service being done or taking place at this point in time. Now, once I do that with the cones, and remember, I'm behind the customer, I pull up a little more, and I make sure that my amber lights are on front and back, so that if it's nighttime and they may not see the cones, the drivers that are passing on the highway can see my amber lights. And you can't miss my amber lights. And it's front and back. So if someone's coming from the other way, on the other side, for example, let's say well, you're always on the right side of the road. So let's say I was south. The person is on south of 695. On the other side is north of 695. So if you're coming north on 695, you can see my amber lights in the front coming from that way. If you're going south on 695 and you're behind me, as you are approaching me, you can see my amber lights in the back. So now that I have my cones positioned a certain way, and I have my amber lights,
use the right 3 lanes to take exit 91A, 91B toward New York Towson.
In progress. I get my mat and I place it on the ground. I get my 2 bags. One had all of my sockets. The other bag has my 1/2-inch impact wrench. Both of my mileage, one rubber, one heavy steel. And that's just a couple things I'm gonna mention. I have my breaker bar just in case my 1/2-inch impact wrench doesn't work. When I say it doesn't work, because someone at a shop put the lug nuts on real tight. There are times when I can't use my 1/2-inch impact wrench to get the lug nuts off or the bolts off. So I had to resort to using my breaker bar. So I get those bags.
In half a mile, use the right 3 lanes to take exit 91A, 91B toward New York Towson.
I get my jack stands and I get my jack. I get on the ground to identify the jack point.
Use the right 3 lanes to take exit 91A, 91B, then keep left at the fork to continue on exit 91B. Keep left at the fork to continue on exit 91B.
So now that I have my jack, and I have my jack stand. Like I say, I lay on the mat and I look underneath the vehicle so I can identify the jack point. 9 times out of 10, if you're dealing with just a car, an automobile, you could just put it on the pinch well. The pinch well runs from the back of the front tire on the car all the way to the front. No, I'm sorry. Yeah, the back of the front tire on the car all the way to the front of the back tire in the rear. And the pinch well is directly underneath the vehicle on the side underneath. So what I do
in
is
2 miles, take exit 18A for Maryland 26 East, Liberty Road.
I put
toward
both of the
Long-Term.
poles together. I place it in the jack, and I turn it clockwise until it doesn't turn anymore, and then I'll jack up. I'll push the jack up. I'll push it down, and it'll come up, and I'll push it down just to see if it'll go up. Once I see it go up, then I'll turn it counterclockwise. And then once I turn it counterclockwise, then I place the jack underneath the vehicle where the pinch well is. So once I do this, I turn it clockwise, and then I jack up the vehicle. I jack up the vehicle so it's at least an inch or an inch and a half off the ground, off the street. And That way, once I put on the
In half a
spare
mile, take
tire
exit 18A from
or the
Maryland
donut,
26 East, Liberty Road toward Lockern.
I won't have a problem getting it on. So now that I have it jacked up, what I do, I sit on my mat. I put both of my feet on
Take
the
exit
side
18A, then use any lane to turn right onto Maryland 26 East.
of the tire, depending upon if it's the front, the driver, or the
Use any
front
lane to turn
passenger,
right onto Maryland 26 East, Liberty
or
Road.
the back driver or the back passenger.
Continue on Maryland
That's what I
26
do.
East for 3/4 of a mile.
So after I have positioned myself in front of the tire, what I do, I get my 1/2-inch impact wrench. I find out what millimeter socket I need. It could be a 19 millimeter. It could be a 17 millimeter. It could be a 15 millimeter. It could be a 21 millimeter, 22 millimeter. It could be a 24 millimeter. Nevertheless, I have all different size sockets to handle the job. So what I do is I find the right fitting or the right socket that I can use to take off the lug nut. Once I place it on the lug nut, I take my impact wrench, I put it in there, I tap the button underneath the impact wrench, which is on the left side. If I had my impact wrench and I had it facing like this, then you would see that the button I would push would be on the left side. But if I have it down like this, I would tap the button that's on the bottom. And once I position my 1/2-inch impact wrench on the lug nut, then I grab the trigger or the button, and then I'm able to power the impact wrench, and then I go to taking off the lug nut. So I do that for all 4 or all 5 lug nuts. It all depends on the bolt pattern. So after I take off the tire using my impact wrench, hopefully the customer already had the spare out. However, he or she did not take out the spare, then that's something else. It's usually in the back in the trunk, or it could be on the side in the trunk, or it could be underneath the vehicle. And it's different ways to release the spare tire. And I may make a video on how to do that. That right there can take up a lot of time if the customer doesn't take it out before you get there. Now, this is what I do. if you're not in a safe place, I understand why you don't get out of the car. But if you're in a safe place and you don't have anything but time to spare, then make sure you have your spare tire out, so when the technician gets there, he or she can do an expedient job. And that way, if you're running out of time, you're able to get to where you need to go and be on time. Now, if I'm doing a cash job, and a cash job is when people call me directly from their home or from their phone for me to perform the job. When I do a cash job, then I have to indicate to the customer that it's going to cost this amount. However, if you have your spare tire out before I get there, then it'll be $10 off. And some customers say, "Oh, it doesn't matter. You can take it off." And I'll say, "Okay, not a problem." And then some customers will say, "Well, I'll have it off. That way they'll save me some money." And that's just being savvy. And I say, "Okay, fine." And that's as far as a tire change is concerned. Now, some customers may have a spare or may not have a spare. However, I do give them the option to get a plug if their tire isn't ripped. Some tires are ripped and the tire has to be exchanged, meaning that they need to buy a used or a new tire. So I give them that option to plug the tire. That way, some people don't like to put the donut on because they feel as though it doesn't present a good appearance. It's like an eyesore, especially if they have a luxury car or a high-end vehicle. The person doesn't want to ride around with a donut. So, for some people, it does something to their status quo. So, as a courtesy, what I do is give them that option. But the plug definitely is additional. And by me going out, I can charge from $20, $30 if that's what they want to do. Sometimes I charge less than that. It all depends how far I go. So after I plug the tire or change the tire, I make sure when I put the lug nuts back on, once I put on the donut, or once I have plugged the tire, I put the tire on after it has, if I plug the tire, after the glue has dried. And I'll go into how to plug a tire in my next video. But right now, let's say I didn't plug the tire and I'm just putting on the spare tire. So after I have taken off the tire that's in question, then I place the tire on, that's the spare tire that I got out of the trunk or underneath the car, on the side and on the side inside of the vehicle. I use both of my feet and my hands to place the tire back onto the car. When I put on my lug nuts, well, I make sure that the tire lines up with the hub, called the hub. So once I line it up and I have it on, then I take the lug nuts and I screw the lug nuts on. I take the lug nuts, I just screw the lug nuts on, right? And then after I screw the lug nuts on, right, and I make sure the lug nuts are tight when I screw them on, as tight as I can make it. And the reason why I do that is so that I don't cross thread the lug nut with the stud that comes out of the hub. So once I screw all the lug nuts on, and they screw on very easy, when you screw the lug nut on, they shouldn't be hard to screw on. It shouldn't be hard. If it's hard, that means you don't have the lug nut on the stud correctly. So you have to make sure that you have the lug nut on the stud correctly so it'll screw on easy. So once you have tightened all your lug nuts by hand, then you get your impact wrench. Instead of touching the bottom, now you touch the top. The top is on the right hand side. And the way that you can remember to tighten and to loosen the lug nuts, remember, righty, tighty, lefty, loosey. Righty, tighty, lefty, loosey. So when you're tightening up the lug nut, you touch the right side of the impact wrench, which is on the top. If you have the impact wrench horizontal, vertical, it's on the left. No, vertical is on the right for tightening. Vertical is on the right. When it's horizontal, it's on the top. So that's tightening. And when you're loosening the lug nut, on the left, when it's vertical, it's on the left. The button's on the left. When it's horizontal, it's underneath. So once I tighten up all the lug nuts, and remember, safety, I have on my safety goggles while I'm doing this because I don't want any of those metal particles to come towards my eyes and impact my vision, which will be unbeneficial for me and painful. So after I put on the lug nuts using my 1/2-inch impact wrench, pretty much so my job is done. The last thing that I take off of the vehicle is my jack, and I'm gonna tell you why. I get all of my tools first. I get all my tools together with the exception of my jack. I get all my tools together. I make sure I take all my tools and I place them back in my service vehicle. After I've placed all my tools in the service vehicle, I still have my cones out. I still have my vehicle in back of the customer's vehicle, and my amber lights are still flashing. So I take all my tools, my bags, my mat, my two tool bags. I place all my tools in my bags, all my sockets go in one bag, and my other equipment goes into the other bag. My batteries as well go into the bag with the lug nuts, and my 1/2-inch impact wrench without the battery goes into another bag. So I zip my bags up, I take them, put them in my service vehicle. I look around to see if, and my mat, I take that and put in my service vehicle. I look around, but understand this. Before I start a job, when it's catering a flat tire, I make sure the customer puts on the emergency brake. That's important. Put on the emergency brake. Also, I put my stops underneath the tire so that the tire doesn't roll away, because the customer's car, he or she may put on the emergency brake, but it may not work. So I put the stops under there. That way the car doesn't roll while I'm trying to offer assistance. And that way, just these little things that I'm talking to you about can save your life or prevent from you getting any bodily harm. Sometimes the customer wants to sit in the vehicle, so I ask the customer to roll the window down a little bit if it's not too cold. That way I can communicate with the customer just in case I need to tell the customer something. So again, now the tire is on. I've taken all of my materials and I've placed them in my service vehicle, except for a couple things. But I leave out the cones. So when I place my cones, I put it in front of the vehicle, I put it in the back of the vehicle, and I put it on the side of the vehicle. And back of the vehicle, because I want people to see that you can't keep going. And I have my amber lights on too, so they can see they can't keep going because there's a vehicle right here. Some people don't pay attention. They may see the corner. You know, I've seen that. I don't see how they miss the lights. But when I put the cone out, I put the cone like 30 feet away, 20 to 30 feet away in the back. And then I put a cone in the front. That way, if someone's coming in on the opposite side, let's say it's a relative and they see the person, they know that roadside service is being rendered. Or if the police comes, they can see that roadside is being rendered. Roadside service is being rendered. So after I've done the job, I unloosen the jack by turning it counterclockwise. The jack releases itself from underneath. The vehicle comes down. I pull the jack out. I roll the jack to my service vehicle. I take it apart because you have to put it together. I take it apart. I sit it in my service vehicle in the back. And then I go to the car. I test the tire to make sure that the tire has enough air in it. If it doesn't, I put air in it. And then I do a 4-point check all around the vehicle to make sure the customer's vehicle is safe to drive. There's been times when I did a 4-point check and the tire on the other side needs air badly. So understand this. When I'm servicing a vehicle, my company is online. When I say my company is online, I'm responsible. So I make sure when the customer leaves that everything is in place that's supposed to be. So after I do my 4-point check, and I've already placed my jack in the vehicle, then I take my bags and put them on top of my jack. After I do all that, then I go to the customer. I ask the customer, are you okay? They say, yes, you're okay. Then I will say to them, from a scale from 1 to 5, how would you rate my service? And then they will tell me. And I say, okay, thank you. Can you send a text to this number? And I said, also, by the way, my daughter and I, we have a YouTube channel. It's called Daddy Daughter Time on the Daddy Daughter Go-To Show with Mel Daddy and daughter Monet. And they become interested in it, and they follow me, or they go to my YouTube channel, my daughter and I's YouTube channel, and they subscribe. So for those of you that are looking at this video, you have already gained access to my YouTube channel. And what I would like for you to do, I would like for you to share this video. I like for you to give it a thumbs up. I like for you, or give it a thumbs down if you don't like the video. I like for you to hit the like button. And I already said that. Smash the like button. And you know, just hit the bell icon. You see my daughter and I, we just have a great time together. We're like two of a kind. She's a Zoomer and I'm a Boomer. She's a Zoomer and I'm a Boomer. See, and when I say she's a Zoomer, what I'm saying is she's in Generation Z and I'm a baby boomer. However, I'm a late baby boomer. And then, you know, the generation after the baby boomers are Generation X, and maybe most of your parents are in Generation X. I started late. My daughter is 23 years old. She'll be 24 June 24th. If you're able to, you know, shout her out, give her a happy birthday. We're going to have, and she doesn't know it yet, but we're going to have a YouTube celebration concerning her birthday. And we're going to have a number that you can call. All right, so look forward to that. I appreciate it. However, after I've taken the jack from underneath the vehicle, and I talk to the customer, and I ask the customer certain questions and telling him or her about the YouTube channel. Then I remove the cones. Put the cones in the car. Place the two little pipes in the cone, or in the cones, because they layered together in my service vehicle. But prior to all that, I've already gotten the information from the customer, making sure that that's the customer that I'm supposed to service. And that's the flat tire. So In our next video, I'll talk about the lockout and the gas delivery. Because right now we're at 50 minutes, 17 seconds and counting. And I don't want to make it too long because I don't want you to have to sit there and look at a whole hour video like, oh my goodness, whew, this man, he's so, as people say, long-winded. I try not to be, but I enjoy talking and sharing information with you and teaching you how to do certain things that you may not have known before. And with this video, it's a tutorial to help you to do certain things that may be beneficial to you and save you money. And with that being said, thank you for joining me. It was great having you as passengers. I love you guys. Next time you see me, I'll be with my daughter. So until then, take care. God bless. May the good Lord keep you, and may heaven smile upon you. It's the Daddy-Daughter Radio Show with Mel Daddy and daughter Monet. I know I'm crazy. Take care. God bless. Bye for now.